Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Tips, Tricks, and Triumphs Tuesday. So, if this is your first time listening, I'm a hypnotherapist, an NLP practitioner, a Reiki master, and a life coach. But I like to call myself a change adventure navigator because I love guiding people through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace, and hopefully a little soulfire wisdom along the way. So, although I'm in Arizona here where we didn't change time, since I still listed the show by Pacific time, I kind of forgot that I actually moved up an hour and I had a Zoom call right before this that I just got off of about 12 minutes early. So I'm glad I remembered at the last minute that I was got moved up an hour according to Pacific time. So that Zoom call is kind of what I'm going to talk about for a few minutes today. It was actually for a soul talk that I'll be posting shortly, and that soul talk is on vulnerability. And we had a really beautiful conversation about vulnerability. And so hopefully you'll watch that at some point. But some of the things we got into during the talk were kind of interesting little tips on how to let yourself be vulnerable, really. Vulnerability and self-love, self-acceptance are really strongly intertwined. And one way of, if you've ever noticed children, children have an amazing ability to be vulnerable because they haven't learned how to be defensive yet. And so if you want to be more vulnerable, go back to that child, that child that you were, and try to be that child. Keep that child alive, and then you're able to be more vulnerable. So I just started, my guest today is Victoria Marie Gallagher. And I just started reading her book that we're going to talk about today, Manifesting Your Soulmate Using the Law of Attraction. And so far I found it very interesting. And I might even have to try the tips that she gives in that book. She's a fellow hypnotherapist. She's been practicing quite a bit longer than I have. She's a best-selling author, a speaker, a life coach, and an expert on the law of attraction. She focuses on empowering people to live life aligned with their dreams through her effective meditative recordings and online courses. She hosts the Law of Attraction show, The Power of Your Mind, podcast and features industry experts as a self help podcast, helping listeners unleash the power of their mind. She shares her over 20 years of wisdom and techniques in hypnotherapy, law of attraction, visualization, NLP, meditation, personal growth, positive affirmations, and other methods to help listeners tap into the great power which resides in their mind and become the best version of themselves. So I'm happy now to introduce Victoria.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, it's good to be here. And I was listening in on your introduction about Arizona and the time change. And so many people don't realize that we don't change the time, and we're Mountain Standard Time year round. We're never on daylight time unless you're in a particular area in Arizona. So we have to keep up with. I kind of thought
Yeah,
when moving here, oh, we don't have to worry about the time change. We've got to worry about it like 3 times as much because everybody else does it. And so we got to keep track of everybody else's
yeah.
time.
Now it used to be 4 o'clock here when I did the podcast because it was 3 p.m. Pacific time. And
Mhm.
so I kind of forgot that for a minute. And it
Yeah,
was
and all my
crazy.
coach calls are like an hour earlier for me.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's really it's really interesting. Actually, I'm glad they're an hour earlier. So that actually works better for me. But and then I also was listening to what you're talking about, the self-love and vulnerability. And that is, I mean, that is spot on, really, to the key to loving yourself is being vulnerable, being that authentic self. I mean, if you're not being vulnerable, it's in a way it's like a self-rejection. And I do talk about that a little bit in my book. So I feel like we're definitely on the same wavelength today, given that you were talking about that topic earlier.
yeah. It's a topic that I've been wanting to talk about on my Soul Talks, which are it's my video blog, so they're just conversations with people. And I couldn't find a guest who was brave enough to talk about vulnerability. So I was really happy to have that talk. So, to get started, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what led you to your current path?
Absolutely. So have been a hypnotherapist for 22 years. I started in 1999. And prior to that, what kind of got me on the path, I was a stockbroker, financial consultant for about 6 years. And I had been in the industry actually much longer than that. And I really felt like I had reached a point in my life where I had made it. And I was only in my late 20s, and I was married. I had a nice house, I had a nice car, I had nice money, I had a retirement savings. I'm in good shape. Like everything in the world is possibly going right for me. But I just was burnt out, and I was stressed out, and I was feeling depressed and anxious and like, I've got all this stuff. Why aren't I happy? And I kind of realized I had, both my mother and my father were both at one point stockbrokers. And so what I had done essentially is just kind of follow along a path that was, not really my destiny, but it was just kind of robotic and just sort of operating on automatic pilot, doing all the things that were expected of me. And so that's when I turned to a personal growth seminar. it was like a 4-day seminar, and we did a lot of meditating and visualizing and writing our SMART goals and just doing all of those types of processes. And I just fell in love with it. I'm like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to teach this stuff for a living. And and so I really felt like it wasn't necessarily, I didn't know I was going to become a hypnotherapist at the time. I was just looking for a way to figure out if I was on the right track with writing the meditative recordings that I was working on. And I was searching for, how to write effective meditations. And I was just on this search for a long time. And then I finally stumbled upon a hypnotherapy school by mistake. And when I read the description and I read what I would be doing as a hypnotherapist, I was like, you know what? This is exactly what I want to do. Like, this is it. And so I got certified, and, it was still all about making the recordings, but I thought, I could just as easily sit in front of clients to help them, with all of their life problems. I'm sitting down and helping people with their financial, portfolios. So, and they don't really want to talk about that anyway. They always want to talk about their personal life. And so I just felt like I was a good fit. And long story short, I kind of had to jump in off the deep end, because once my boss found out that I was starting a business, he kind of gave me an ultimatum and said, you have 30 days to decide what you want to do with the rest of your life. And so I just went ahead and just dived in headfirst. And it was quite a journey, quite an adventure, doing that, moving from a 6-figure income to a zero figure income. But it was like one of those, like, sink or swim. And I learned how to swim pretty fast, and I learned all about manifesting pretty fast. And I learned at that point that it's not as easy to empower yourself to manifest as a lot of people might tell you. It's actually a personal growth pursuit. It is getting yourself into alignment and reprogramming your subconscious mind. And that's why, to me, I feel like hypnotherapy and law of attraction, if you're going to practice law of attraction at all, hypnotherapy, it goes hand in hand with manifesting. You just absolutely cannot have one without the other. You cannot, you cannot manifest without getting that belief system in check. And that was the missing link for me for a real long time. So fast forward to today, clearly I made a good decision, and,
Yeah,
and I've
that's
manifested
interesting.
everything from soulmate, dream home, dream business, all of the things. But it took something.
Yeah, I didn't intend to become a hypnotherapist either. I
Yeah.
was going to become a life coach, and they just happened to be teaching hypnotherapy. And so I said, well, I don't know if I'll ever use it, but I'll learn it.
Yeah.
And afterward, it's like, what would I be doing if I hadn't learned this? So,
Exactly. Yeah.
um,
How long
so
have you been a hypnotherapist, by the way?
just since 2015, so
Oh,
like
great.
almost 6 years.
Great.
So
And it's
a
so
little,
weird. 2015 just seems like it was 2 years ago. I cannot believe how fast time has gone
yeah.
by.
But I was a business consultant before that. And one of the reasons why I decided I wanted to do life coaching, other than my psychology background, was that when I would be consulting with people, a lot of the time they had these personal problems that were holding them back rather than business problems.
Hmm.
So decided, well, I might as well solve those.
Exactly. Yep, I can relate.
So you call yourself the Law of Attraction Hypnotist. So why do you use that term?
You know, prior to when everybody started, watching the movie The Secret and all of that, a lot of my hypnotic recordings, I was splashing into my recordings things like talking about the universe and talking about the law of vibration and talking about energy and talking about how we're attracting things to us and aligning ourselves. And I was using all of the manifesting and law of attraction vocabulary. And I was, and those were always my most popular hypnosis programs, like mastering the law of attraction and things like, you know, ma- um, uh, you are magnetic and positive vibration and a lot of those things. So I just really kind of was listening to what people were preferring, and I wanted to specialize in law of attraction. And once The Secret came out, and people started like learning about, oh, there's this thing called law of attraction, I just felt like this is exactly what I want to specialize in. I want to help people to learn these concepts and get better at manifesting, because this was something that, I knew what the problems were. I knew what, from my own personal experience, I knew that like when you first start, um, thinking, to manifest, there's a lot more to it, and a lot of people don't really understand it when they first start out, and they'll start to meditate or start to do their affirmations and then 30 days into it, they'll be like, well, why isn't this working? And so I just wanted to help people with that, because I went through that. I went through I've done everything in my power. God, why isn't this working? And then I just I realized what it was all about, and so I just really wanted to help people overcome that frustration, and particularly in the area of love and money. Those were two areas that I struggled with at various different points in my life, and those were areas that I feel like I've kind of figured out. And I have my own limits, and just like everybody else does. But, I really feel like in the areas of love and money, those are areas that are pretty important to people, and it really helps if you get law of attraction working on your side. And I always, picking up on people's vocabulary and the things that they say to themselves, and the things that they're thinking and their energy, and so I, after like, I don't know, umpteen years of studying various different teachers like Bob Proctor and Deepak Chopra and Shakti Gawain and all those people, I had amassed, a pretty big collection of different practices and different philosophies and different aspects of law of attraction, and I call these my conditions, conditions for manifesting, and what you ultimately have to be in alignment. I mean, you have to be very clear, for one, and you
So
have to have your thoughts in alignment. And
so do you have your own definition of law of attraction?
I do. I basically talk about the definition of it being that law of attraction is when the manifesting conditions um, and personal qualities are in alignment. So there's 8 different manifesting conditions, and then there's also about 16 personal qualities that all ultimately need to be in alignment. But in a really simple definition, you get what you focus on, is really, that's the definition. You get what you focus on, whether negative or positive. And unfortunately, just by default, and not by any fault of your own, but just the way that we are trained to think, by conditioning, by watching our parents, by watching everybody around us, by watching the news, by everything that we hear around us, 90% of which is negative. Most people just love to complain. Come home from work and it's like, oh, my day was so bad. And it's like, well, let me tell you about my day. It's a competition to see who can have the worst day. And, so just by default, we tend to focus more on the negative than we do on the positive. And so it's a process. You're never going to get it perfect. There's always going to be something to complain about, but to become aware of these complaints and to kind of become aware of our thoughts so that we can now begin to alter them and change them and shift our emotions and our vibration and what we're visualizing. It's like if you get called into you get a call from, you get a piece of mail. Yesterday, I got a piece of mail from the IRS. What's the first thing you think of? It's like, oh my God, am I going to get audited? Well, it was actually a good piece of mail. And, I opened it up and it was like, oh, it was a nice little piece of mail. I won't say exactly what it was, but it was a good piece of mail. And so, or you get called into your, you get called into your boss's office. It's like, oh, what does the boss want to talk about? And you start imagining the worst. So we just, we tend to imagine the worst. And so we got to focus on what we want more. And the more we focus on what we want, the more likely we are to attract that. And it's not like there's some magical genie out there that's just granting your wishes based on what you're thinking about. There's a lot more to it than that. But ultimately it is that, you get what you focus on.
Yeah, I've always thought one of the hardest parts is actually, clearly defining what it is you want. You can't focus till you know.
So true. It is so true. And really, sometimes I think what makes it hard is there's so many choices. There are so many, like being a kind of a serial entrepreneur. I have so many different aspects of my business, for example, that I'm in the pursuit of growing. And, between my app and writing my books and my seminars, my courses, and you name it. And it's like, whoa, so if I focus on all those things at the same time, I'm just not going to have enough manifesting energy to grow any of those things. So I've had to really hone it in and say, oh, you know what? I'm focused on this one thing, or at least just for a month, I'm going to focus on just this one thing. And the next month I can focus on something different, but this month, this is what I'm focusing on. And, just learning that, learning to focus your energy on one thing and being very, very clear and very specific about what it is that you want.
So why should people learn about the law of attraction? What's important? And I know, they want to get what they want, but
so the reason why somebody would want to learn about the law of attraction is that it's happening whether you believe in it, whether you think about it, whether you know about it or not. It's basically the same thing, the same reason that you would want to know what is a good diet, like what the same reason you want to know how to keep your body healthy. This ultimately is something that is happening by default anyway. So if once you understand the rules of the game that we're all playing here, which is that you get what you think about, then you're going to understand how to you're going to understand how to focus your thoughts on the things that you want to manifest. You're going to understand how to work with these laws rather than them working against you. If you find yourself complaining, if you find yourself saying, oh, this, that's never going to happen for me, or that's, out of my realm of possibility, or I can't have that, or I can't do that, or that'll, all of those things.
I always meet the wrong guy. And you're
Yes.
thinking of all these wrong guys you meet. And then you meet more
Yes.
wild guys.
That's so true, and that's exactly right, and, so especially, yeah, when it comes to dating, when you're thinking about the wrong, the qualities that you're always attracting, those are the qualities, or even if you are in a relationship and your spouse is, bugging you constantly, because they don't ever do this, or they don't do that, and all you focus on all the things that you don't like about them, you're just gonna that's all you're gonna see. And so it just is a way to, um, ultimately empower yourself and take more control and responsibility, for your life and the things that are happening, understanding that a lot of the things that are happening is not, there's a distinction. They're not your fault. It's not that you're to blame for everything that happens to you, but it is your responsibility. It is your responsibility on, and if you know the laws, that you can change it. You can change it right now, no matter how you lived yesterday, no matter what was going on in the past. That's the past. You can create your future from this very moment. No matter who you were yesterday, you can always have something different. And so that's mean that, it's an empowerment, uh is the reason why you ultimately want to learn about it, is just for self-empowerment.
So what kinds of things can people manifest using the law of attraction?
So pretty much anything that you kind of like in the book, Think and Grow Rich, if you can conceive it, if you can believe it, then you can achieve it. So any possible thing that you can imagine or conceive of, you can create. You can attract the dream job. You can attract your dream business. You can attract friendships. You can attract your your soulmate. You can attract, I just manifested my dream house. You can attract, people that you need, like that, for particular resources. You can attract, I attracted, being a number one bestseller for my book. I mean, anything that you can imagine, you can attract that using the law of attraction.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, it is good. It's a wonderful thing. And you can attract personal qualities as well. If you want to be somebody that is, just, more charismatic or more magnetic or more, caring, or if you want to attract abundance, you want to have a bigger bank account, whatever it is, you can attract, any possible thing, that you can imagine. But the key is you have to be able to conceive of it and believe in it, and those are the two key things. You can attract meowing cats. Got one in the background.
So what is the biggest reason that people fail when they try to manifest what they want?
I don't know that there's one biggest reason. I mean, I think the key thing is it all comes down to the doubt. That's the biggest reason why people, don't manifest, is because they just doubt, that they are powerful enough. They doubt, that maybe they're good enough, or they have, any type of fear or doubt. But there's many, many reasons that kind of lead somebody to failing. Lack of consistency. So you have to be, pretty consistent. Like, it's the same thing as, if you're trying to get into shape or lose weight or anything, and try this for a week, and you say, oh, I tried working out, I tried going to the gym for a week, it didn't work, and I'm not in the shape that I want to be, and so they just, they give up, or they stop doing it, and maybe they lose their motivation. Maybe they just give up too soon and they say, maybe I just don't really. And so being wishy-washy is another reason why people, they, on the one hand, they say, oh yeah, I really want to attract a wonderful relationship. But then on the other hand, then they'll go out with somebody that isn't quite a match for them. And they will get upset and they'll just feel like, you know what, this is not worth it. This is not worth the time and the energy. I give up. I'm not interested in dating anyone. And then, the universe, kind of says, or the subconscious mind, just says, okay. And so it gives you that, but then after a few, months of loneliness, and they want to put themselves back out there again, dip their toe into the dating scene and say, hey, I think I want to go ahead and manifest that soulmate. And then, they'll try again, and but they're just not clear. They're just testing the waters, or and so that's just another reason, is just being wishy-washy about, kind of going back and forth about whatever it is that you want to manifest. You've got to be consistent. You've got to be clear. You have to have a real passion, a real desire, and faith and belief, and you have to do it until, like, there's no like, oh well, if it just doesn't happen in 30 days, I'm going to give up, or 60 days or 90 days or whatever. It's like, why would you even give up? Like, and if it's something that you want to give up on, maybe your goal isn't big enough. Maybe your goal isn't, something that you really strongly feel passionate about. And, or it could be because a person feels like they just don't deserve it. They don't feel like they're worthy, good enough of having their manifestations or their desires happen for them. So those are just a couple
Yeah,
of,
you do have to believe you deserve it. And another couple of things that I've heard is people, they can't see how it's going to happen.
yes.
So, they don't believe it because they can't see all the steps in between. And that's where the faith has to come in. You have to believe that it will happen, even if you don't know how.
It's so true. It is so true. I'm having, I put a big manifestation out on the table myself. And it's interesting, because, I have no idea exactly how I'm going to manifest that. I have ideas. I mean, I could probably come up with a list of 100 different ways, or 1,000 different ways. I mean, if you get really creative, and you list out all the possible ways that something could come about, you will be amazed at how many different ways your manifestation could come about. And so, this manifestation, it's like, for me, it's off to a little bit of a slow start. But I will tell you what, nothing like, I've not had any physical action put toward this yet, because I don't have that available to me yet. And I will say that things in that regard have actually started to accelerate just by me, like, every single day, focusing on it in my mind every single day. I mean, I made a little hypnosis program about it that I listen to every single morning. And I've been doing this for the last 60 days, and I've had like more growth in this area than I've ever had. And I haven't even done anything yet. And so it is interesting. That is like the unexplainable. I think that there's sometimes can be this, like, no one knows how to explain that little magic, but, like, it's not like I don't like to give people this impression that you can just sit around and meditate and pray all day long, and think that your desire is going to come to fruition. There is action that you have to take, but it is just interesting that this has started to happen for me without any real action yet. There's been,
Without conscious action.
yeah,
because
exactly.
it is that putting it out there, and then our unconscious mind starts working on it
Hmm.
before we actually start taking those conscious steps, but it sort of pushes us.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. So I'll tell you, it's actually I'm growing my app subscribers to a particular amount, by the end of the year. And so the first kind of action that I did take was I told my first, the developer who I've been working with for the last couple of years. I told him that I needed X amount of hours a week, and he said he could not provide that. And I really took a risk to tell him that because I had this feeling that he was probably not going to be available to me, and because he just likes to take on these big projects. So that put me on the path to finding a new developer, and I pretty much have found one, but we haven't actually launched any of the things that we're developing yet. So it was just really interesting because while that's all in practice, and I'm just telling myself the number every single day, the subscribers have been growing all on their own. Like, it's been kind of flat for the last year, and then like in the last 2 months, it's like, woo, it's like something's happening, something's brewing. I don't know how many get to that
Maybe it
number.
has to do with your book release.
Yeah, it could be. It could
Yeah,
very well be. Yeah.
but
Everything's all connected, right? So it
it is.
could very well be.
So, what's the first step you would suggest for people to take if they want to use the law of attraction and do it right?
So the very, very first step, and I kind of, in my book, in my couple of books, but in Practical Law of Attraction, I talk about 8 manifesting conditions. And, so the first step, the first condition is really about the desire, and understanding what your desire is. And so getting extremely clear, extremely specific on what your intention, what your desire is. One way and to get in touch with what your desire is, which is a little counterintuitive, is to pay attention to what you are complaining about throughout the day. I actually have an exercise that I have people do in my seminars called the complaint game. It's really fun. You get into pairs with a partner, and the partner listens to you and just writes down all of your complaints. So you pick an area of your life that you have some complaints about, and you just complain, because it's so much easier to complain. We're just seem to be a little bit more hardwired for thinking about the negative and the complaining. And then I have people very specifically, one by one, take each of those complaints and ask them, okay, what do I want instead? And ask these questions, and what is it that I prefer. So the complaints will lead you to finding out ultimately what it is that you want. And so that's really step one, is to create a desire intention statement that helps you to really focus in on that one thing, to have that object to focus on.
Yes, that's actually a brilliant way of getting to it. Some of the people that have achieved great things, like J.K. Rowling, she said, "I built my life firmly on rock bottom." Well,
Hmm.
that's because when you're at rock bottom, you can see clearly what you don't want, and it helps you to see what you do want and focus on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just today, I got really clear on why, you know, my husband and I, like, why we want to create an overabundance, an overflow of financial abundance. And one of the reasons why is because the other day, it was silly. The other day, we ordered this beautiful outdoor patio furniture, but we just decided to be a little cheap when it came to the delivery and setup. We said, nah, we'll do it ourselves. Well, this thing comes, it's freaking 375 pounds. It's got this metal slab. Like we were able to get the chairs out of the boxes just fine. But the two of us trying to carry this metal slab from the garage to the backyard. Today, for the last 3 days, he's running around with a pole something in his muscle. Now, he's probably spent the $150 already between going to the doctor to get it examined, the x-rays, pain medication, and all that. It's silly. And so I'm thinking to myself today, it's like, you know what? Like, I don't want to ever experience that again. Like that kind of have to make stupid decisions like that, just because we don't feel like abundant today, enough, abundance to like, yeah, let's just pay somebody else to do it, like, no, let's just do it ourselves. It's like silly. I mean, we've spent a, bunch of money on this patio, but then we're not going to spend $150 to have somebody set it up for us. It's silly. So I just felt like, you know what, that really got me in touch with, I want to have, enough abundance that, we can pay people to do the things that we don't want to do.
I
To
totally
let somebody.
understand. I've been putting together furniture and I am not a furniture assembler.
Right? Oh.
So your book is called, not the most recent one, but the prior one is called The Practical Law of Attraction. How is that different from what is taught in The Secret and other books on the law of attraction?
So if you take a look at the movie The Secret, it's about 90 minutes, and so it's a real brief summary of what you can do and what you can achieve, and that everything is possible with the power of your mind. But it doesn't really get into so much the it just doesn't have time to really dive so deep into the hows and all of that. What my book does is it actually goes into all the hows, and it talks very practically about the things that you need to do to get yourself into alignment with your desire, with how to master focusing your thoughts, how to how to tap into your imagination, some exercises that help you to tap into your imagination. What is the vibration and the feeling, like how do you shift into a higher vibration? The belief and expectation. It goes into like how to really take a look at what some of your limiting beliefs are, because limiting beliefs, in my opinion, are like one of the single biggest factors to us not achieving what we want. And so how do we find out what those limiting beliefs are? So it really dives in a very practical sense. And like anybody who is not a believer of the law of attraction, I actually wrote the book from the standpoint of, I think in our industry, even, I was surprised that there were so many law of attraction skeptics. And, when I started talking about the law of attraction, like I would hear people, saying things about, oh, it's not, the law of attraction. And I kind of wrote it from this practical standpoint where, like, from speaking to a pessimist, because I really wanted to explain it in such a way that I would not leave any stone unturned. I wouldn't leave anything unexplained. I explain everything everything that I say in there, I back it up with, this is how you do that, and this is why that works. And so that's really the difference. There's nothing, I don't believe there's anything wrong with the movie The Secret. I just think that they leave a lot to um to one's imagination. They leave a lot of blanks unfilled, and so when people they see a genie in the sky, and they see the things that people have manifested, and it seems as though all you have to do is just think a thing, and then the next day somebody is wrapping a $1 million bracelet or necklace around your neck. It makes it seem so unrealistic, and that is the way that it's kind of leaves you with this impression that is very unrealistic. And if you believe that, then yeah, that's not the way the law of attraction really works. There's some internal work to do when it comes to, and there's also external work to do. But the internal work is about 70, 80, 90% of it. And the external work is probably 10 to 30%. And it just kind of depends on what the goal is that the desire is that you're manifesting.
Yes, very true. So, your most recent book, the How to Manifest Your Soulmate Using Law of Attraction, tell us a little bit about how that works, because I think that's probably, aside from money, that's probably the thing people most often want to manifest.
It definitely is. And for many years, I wanted to, manifest my soulmate. I had thought that I met my soulmate, probably was a soulmate of sorts, and that relationship didn't quite work out. And so this book is ultimately one of my greatest manifestations was, the soulmate, my current husband that I live with. And, over the probably past 16, 17 years since we've met, and I've been teaching people about law of attraction, I've always, kind of told that story. I've shared, the way that I manifested him, which ultimately was, I created this desire statement. That was how I started off. And I put that desire statement as is with no changes on the dating site. And, it took a little while to manifest, but I ultimately got exactly what I wanted. And there was a lot of little stories and details in the middle. But, what I learned a lot along that way, and it's really just all of the lessons that go into what makes what makes manifesting possible for your soulmate. And a lot of it is similar to to the conditions in practical law of attraction, but there's even more to it when it comes to love, because now there's two people involved. And so we're talking about just how how can you identify if you've actually met your soulmate, how to communicate with this person, because I think one of the biggest problems when it comes to relationships is just the lack of ability to really communicate and be vulnerable and being who you are. I think so much of the book is based on really learning how to love yourself, and learning how to also identify things in your life that make you feel passionate. I've found personally, I always manifested a relationship, a good relationship, long-term relationship, when I was doing something that raised my vibration, that something that made me feel good, at the time, which was singing. And so, so it just kind of goes into all the steps ultimately that you need to take. All the check is kind of like a checklist of the things that you need to do in order to manifest not only your soulmate, but also keep your soulmate, relationship. Because it's one thing to manifest them, it's another thing to, have them and then chase them away with, uh, bad communication skills and bad behavior.
Yes, that's one of the things that I've found interesting and helpful about your book so far is, um, the manifesting is not magic. As you said, there's a lot that goes into it. You go through these steps that show, you wanted this, but then you also had to be ready for it. And you went through some readiness steps. And then, you know, defining the relationship is part of it. You've got this person, but you got to decide what the relationship is going to be. And then there's that other person.
Yeah.
So, um,
In a
there's
way,
more to it.
yeah, in a way, manifestation, if we're really being truthful and honest, I believe that manifestation is a really pretty word for one's personal growth journey that they must go through in order to attract whatever it is that they're longing for. I think the desire is sort of like put there as a carrot that says, okay, I want that. How how do I have to be in order to get that? Who do I have to become? And you're ultimately becoming the person that you were meant to become. And that desire was, put into you by somewhere, spirit, God, the universe. It's planted in you as a seed to grow into the person who's in alignment with that thing.
Yes, yes, I think that's a good way of defining it, of looking at it. So I have a question now that it probably seems a little off topic, but I've been asking all of my guests for a while. So,
Okay.
what surprised you most about life so far?
Um, that's an interesting question. I would say, oh boy, that is a really interesting question. So, what has surprised me is that even though so you can think that you want certain things in your life, and and then the journey that it takes to get there, can has so many twists and turns, that and those things that life presents you that are alternative to what you really wanted. The fact that you can just fall in love with those things just as easily as the things that you thought that you wanted, that has surprised me. It surprised me that, um, you know, for example, I really felt like I wanted to be a singer, all my life, and up until well, all my life up until I was in my early 20s, and then I just kind of decided I wanted something else. And but it surprised me that the life I have right now, I could have never imagined that, and yet it's so much better, than what I thought I wanted. And so that it's just surprising to me that you can think that you really, really want something, and then you can fall in love with something else and be even happier.
Yes, yeah.
I'd
So
be curious to know what some of the other answers were to that question.
all of them are different.
Yeah, I
You're
bet.
not the first person that asked that. Um, Eventually, I'm
It's
going
a
to give
great question. It really
you this
makes you think.
question, and then I guess everybody will get to know what everybody else said.
Mhm.
So, um, so we're getting close to the end of the time, if you could leave the listeners with one thought from today's show, what would you want that to be?
My one thought that I'd like to leave people with is that, I always like to leave people on an inspired note, to, let people know that, if there is a dream or a desire or a motivation in your heart, if there's anything that you can possibly imagine for yourself that you want, that, that is meant for you, and that there is a way, and you don't necessarily have to know how, but it is meant for you. And you can achieve anything that you could possibly desire for yourself. You just have to allow yourself to go for it, and to feel it and to believe it and to align yourself with it, and you will eventually get there. Don't ever give up on yourself. Don't ever let
You'll
anybody
get
tell you.
there or someplace better.
Yes, you will get there or someplace better. Absolutely. And so, just don't ever let anybody stop you or tell you, that, you can't achieve something, because you absolutely can. We're all born with a seed of desire, and it's meant for you. And that's it.
Great. So, if listeners want to get in touch with you, find out more about what you do, or get your book, how would they do that?
They can visit me on my website, victoriamgallagher.com. By going there, I have like all of the things that I do are all just on the one page, the book, the app, all, my courses and my upcoming Law of Attraction intensive. It's happening in July. And all of those things are available just by going to victoriamgallagher.com.
Okay. Just no periods or anything, just Victoria M. Gallagher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. And if you forget that, you can also go to the radio website, uh, soulfireradio.com, click on guests, and scroll down to Victoria's name. And you'll find some links to get in touch with her there. So, thank you so much for being here today and talking about this. I know it's a subject that everybody wants to know about.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me, Kate. It's been a privilege and honor to be on your show. And so thank you so, so much. And thank you for listening, those who are out there listening today. And just remember that you have a dream in your heart and a desire. And you can make anything happen. So thank you again so much for having me on your show. It's been fun.
So, I do have a quote to share for the listeners to carry with them through the week. And that is, a soulmate is the one person whose love is powerful enough to motivate you to meet your soul, to do the
Mm.
emotional work of self discovery, of awakening. And that
Oh,
was said by Kenny Loggins. So,
really?
yes,
Oh, I love
amazing.
that quote. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So, thank you for listening today. Thanks again, Victoria. And we have another great show planned for next week. Next week, my guest will be Krista Herring. And Krista is a singer songwriter. She's an indie artist, and we'll find out why she loves what she does and creates such beautiful, beautiful songs. So be sure to tune in next week. That's 3 p.m. Pacific time or 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I'm just going to say bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Soul Fire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soul Fire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.